So my name is Rasha and welcome everyone. Welcome Brilliant Minds, and I'm joining all the way from Bangalore, India. And it's my pleasure to be a host today. And also would love to know where are you joining us from. Please let us know by dropping us a hello on the chat and dropping in your name and where are you tuning in from. So on the chat box here. And thank you for being here, and folks who are watching us live on our YouTube channel. Let me just quickly check that out as well. We will be starting the session right on time, just in a few minutes. Let me just quickly go to the YouTube live chat box as well. Meanwhile, please keep your introductions coming in. I see a lot of amazing introductions have already started coming in. Awesome. I see, please do let us know your name as well. I see Shrestha has joined us from Nepal, and I see maybe Reni has joined us from San Diego, US. Someone has joined us from Florida. I would love to know your name. I see someone has joined us from India as well. Again, like, would love to know your name. Please do mention your names, folks. It's sometimes really hard to make out your name from email IDs. A lot of folks joining us from Ontario, Canada, Long Island, New York, and Indiana. And I see that someone is saying my name is Moyo. I think this is Moyo has joined us from Ontario, Canada. Great. And a lot of you folks who are watching us live on YouTube channel as well, you can also drop us a hello on the YouTube live chat box and let us know where are you joining us from. So this program is powered by Simplilearn, world's #1 online bootcamp. We are very proud that we have been in the digital skills training space for more than a decade now, and we have transformed lives by empowering these people via these digital skills. And the skill and the program we'll be going to be talking about today is the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. And moving on to the ground rules we have here for the session. So these quick and easy ground rules are for you just to have an amazing experience here. So the first one here is, if you have a question for our speaker, you need to put down your questions in the Q&A box. Now, webinar chat box, where we can see your amazing introductions coming in, that is the webinar chat box. And the Q&A box is just beside that if you're joined from a laptop or desktop. And if you're from mobile, joined from a mobile, you will see it on the top on the screen by the name Q&A box. So please put down your questions there. Keep the questions related to the topic here, and the program will be covering. And the session is being recorded. So in case you want to go through the recording of the session once again, in case you miss anything, please don't worry. We'll send you a recording link to view once the webinar is done over your email, and you can look out for that. And also, for attending this webinar, there is a webinar certificate. For that, you will have to request a proof of attendance. This session is 60 minutes long, and once the session ends, you will get a post-webinar survey pop-up by Zoom, which will ask you for your full name. And once you enter your full name there and submit it to us, we'll send you the personalized webinar certificate. I'll just quickly show you how it will look like also. So it will look like this, and this is the certificate of participation, and you can see your name here. This is for attending the webinar today, Scale the Heights of Cybersecurity Excellence with Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. You can see the certificate here, and you can also share your certificate on LinkedIn, tagging our Simplilearn handle and also our expert, William Bailey. And also you can take screenshots as well of the basically session in case you find anything interesting. If you basically like something, an insight, or you just want to showcase, you went to a webinar and basically, got these interesting insights from the webinar. So you can do that, and you can basically tag our Simplilearn handle and also our expert speaker as well. So, and use the hashtag SimplilearnGroup. So please do that if you basically like the session and you would want to share your experience, with everyone there. So yeah. Moving on to the agenda of today's session. The first and the most important agenda of today's session is getting to know about you, how we can help you out in your cybersecurity career better. And the second agenda of today's session is talking about cybersecurity careers in 2024. And also we'll be moving on towards the program review after that for the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp, in which we'll be talking about what this program offers, what the learning path looks like, or what is the Caltech CTM advantage here, and also how does this program get you job ready. And yeah, based on the interest you share, we'll be also sharing the enrollment steps of the program. And yeah, the last agenda of today's session is Q&A. And yeah, in case you have any questions for our speaker, William Bailey, you can put down your questions in the Q&A box. So please do that, and make sure to keep your questions related to the webinar's topic today, Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp or Cybersecurity Careers in general. So starting with the first poll of the session. So as I told you that first and the most important agenda is getting to know about you. So let's start with an experience poll here. After seeing your amazing introduction on the chat, let's also get to know how many years of experience do you have. So interestingly, a lot of folks who join us, they have different set of experiences, and that definitely makes the session even more interesting. And also through this poll, our expert speaker also gets to know, how he can tailor his responses according to the kind of crowd with an experience has joined us. So I've just launched the poll, and it has 4 quick options here, where your first one here is currently studying, second one here is 0 to 3 years, and third one here is 3 to 5 years, and the fourth one here is more than 5 years. Yeah, so I see most of you have already started responding to the poll. Let me just give it 10 seconds more. I see one question here, when we will get the certificates. Certificates you'll be getting within 24 to 48 hours once the webinar is done. And for that, you'll have to basically attend all the webinar till the end in order to basically fill down the post-webinar survey. So I hope that answers your question. And also, let me just quickly check out the chat for amazing introductions here. Thank you so much, everyone, for putting down your introductions on the chat here. Let me just, in case you guys have joined in a little late, we are just starting the session. You're not late. I'm just quickly going to take you through the webinar, basically ground rules on the chat here as well. So for the certificate, I've put down the message on the chat. You need to stay till the end, fill down the post-webinar survey, and also the recording of the session as well. So yeah, separately. So yeah, last 5 seconds for the poll here, folks, because I see most of you have already responded here. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me end the poll and also share the results with you folks here. And our speaker. Let's see what have you voted for. So I see 38% for currently studying, 38% for 0 to 3 years, and 8% for 3 to 5 years, and 17% for more than 5 years. Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now moving on to our speaker introduction here. Would like to welcome William Bailey. A very good morning, William. And would like to introduce William Bailey here. William here has 25 years of experience in information security, privacy, and risk, and he has been involved in ISAC and ISSA chapter boards. He has also been consultant with experience across financial, healthcare, retail, and utility sectors. And he has been previously the VP of Information Security for a financial institution. William, I'm pretty sure the slide does not cover amount of experience and skills you have. The crowd would love to know it from you as well. So welcome once again.
Well, thank you for having me here today. As far as experience, every so often I joke that, I learned back on Novell NetWare and Microsoft NT 3.5. It sort of, as I was sort of going, oh, there's this thing called security, and starting to learn about what security meant. And I've had the experience to work with a lot of different organizations in various parts of the country and even the world. I don't mind going back to Europe for another trip. I don't mind going up to Canada for another trip. It's always fun. Because I remember the times that it's just you get done with a project and they say, by the way, you've got the last day to yourself. And so there I am on the California coast going, what do I do? And just making the best of it. And of course, you get to meet a lot of people along the way. You get to meet a lot of different environments, a lot of different types of customers. You get to see what works, what doesn't work. Done a lot of risk assessments for organizations. What is risk? What are the priorities? Things of that sort. And trying to, it's not just the Department of No, which is what cybersecurity used to be. Cybersecurity or information security was no. Why? And so it gave me a lot of experience. So, I stepped in at a financial institution and basically had to real quick reset their program. And then I'm dealing with the regulators from the other side. So it's fun because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been the person who's doing some of the, be doing the penetration testing, and then later I'm hiring the penetration testers. And you know, you have to understand both. You have to understand the skill sets, because you'll get vendors who will call you and want you to do something, want you to buy their product, and you have to know whether they're legit or not, and to see through their stories, if you will. So that's a lot of fun. And of course, I get back to the community with some of these local organizations, you know, ISACA and ISSA, just to mention a couple.
Thank you so much, William, for your introduction here. Moving on to the second agenda of today's session, talking about careers in cybersecurity in 2024, and starting with how exactly cybersecurity is playing a vital role in our business and personal lives.
We look at this, and you have to ask yourself, how many of you could get by a single day without a computer? You know, and the answer is, I think really none of us can. The PwC survey, the CISOs and CIOs, they realized that they hadn't fully mitigated the risk, which is an important step. It means that they've taken their head out of the sand. Now they start hearing these buzzwords like zero trust and AI and ML and next generation and EDR and MDR and XDR, and it's all alphabet soup, right? Well, yeah, it is. There's a lot of things, mobile and IoT or Internet of Things. But see, cyber criminals, and to ask yourselves this, those of you who are on this session today, think about why are we concerned about cybersecurity, right? Well, because we use technology in our daily lives. And people sit there and they pause, and then they realize, oh wait, I have a thermostat that's connected to the internet. I have a doorbell that's on the internet. I have video cameras that are on the internet. I had someone break into my car, and the first thing the police officers asked was, "Where's your camera footage?" That was the first thing they wanted to know, because now we expect people to be watching with all this video technology. And of course, all these technologies, your vehicle, your cars, your medical devices, now what is it? Continuous glucose monitoring, and there are people who are using it not because they're diabetic, they're actually using it because they're monitoring their health and they want to become healthier. So I don't know. This afternoon we've got Kelly Clarkson, who's going to talk about her weight loss this afternoon on a lot of you in the United States. And I wonder if she had a CGM, because those are the devices, they're sitting there, and every 5 minutes they're checking your glucose. And that's part of a weight loss strategy. So it's part of your personal life, right? Your cybersecurity, all your technology, it's part of your business life. All of these devices that are connected to the internet for monitoring. Every time you see those cars and those trucks and they say that this vehicle is monitored, right? Well, yes, it literally is being monitored, and it's probably phoning home real time, right? And there are applications that you as consumers can use to watch what you're doing, and probably your auto insurer may have offered you a program where literally they're tracking every single move you make, every time you hit the gas too heavy. And they know, because the car's already tracking you. That's part of that. You can't escape this. And all of this really becomes a very key target for criminals to make use of. What are they going to make use of it? Well, now we start thinking, what's the threat case for that? I don't. If any of you bought a Dell computer in the last few years, you got an email. It said, "Yep, somebody got our information. They got your name, they got your email, they got what machine you bought." Any of you had an AT&T phone in the last decade? Right? That's scary, right? It's just long period of time, and that's and they not only they sent an email, and actually, I'm on that list too. I got my piece of mail yesterday. It says, your information was part of a breach. Well, why? Cyber criminals. Why do they do it? Money. And it's all of this, it's self-fulfilling, because these outside attackers, they think about how to get into these systems. They're creative. but they work against us. And that's what makes cybersecurity such a great career field, right? Because this is not going to stop. It's not like, oh, we're done. We're going to give up tomorrow. It's just continuing to grow and grow and grow. And we're seeing that cyber criminals have actually edged out. That was one of the important things we saw with the PwC study, was the fact that you think of like nation states, you think of countries that would be using cyber terrorism as a means of attack. Well, now you just have criminals who are they're just going after the money.
That sounds pretty interesting. Thank you so much, William, for shedding some light on this. Moving on to the hottest skills in the cybersecurity space in 2024. So what are these skills for someone who wants to become our cybersecurity experts?
When we look at this list, right, what are the hottest skills? And I had to mention AI, artificial intelligence. It is the new thing. And in fact, AI is permeating every field. I'm a project management professional also. And so I'm listening to PDU, different podcasts and different webinars to continue my learning. And they're talking about how they're using artificial intelligence in managing projects. And then what you have to think about is, what's the security of that model? And that's as an adjunct faculty at a few different places, I have to think about that as well. Like, do I want my students putting information into these AI clouds, if you will? So AI, very big. Virtually anything AI. You look at risk management, I think, is another big one, because it ties together. It sort of actually includes the threat analysis. It includes the vulnerability assessment. It includes some of the data privacy and security issues. And so risk management is really becoming a big thing, that you're learning lots of things about what's out there, learning about the risks of the existing infrastructure, like the IoT, the Internet of Things, being aware of that, and being able to recognize those risks. And of course, I can't leave out, we have DevSecOps and we have secure coding on here, right? And when you think about that because if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. And so we're seeing a big push, because I can do certain defensive mechanisms, but they're only so good. And so we look at working with, and there's the business analysts and the coding analysts that work on the development side of what's going into these systems. And sometimes you'll have your risk management that will actually be working with those development teams also. So those are, I think, sort of the three that if I had to pick three off of this slide, that I would pick. There are job opportunities in all of these spaces, right? And those be the three that I would highlight as, okay, these are the hottest ones. These are the ones that you're going to see growth over the next few years. Because the AI, it's not going away. It's only going to be more and more pervasive. Risk management really captures a lot of the other areas that we see on this slide, and understanding the nuances of all these other areas, and secure coding and DevSecOps. Really, if I kind of combine them into one bucket, and that's creating the secure solution from scratch.
Thank you so much.
So the top three, I'd say, would be the AI and machine learning, risk management, and secure coding.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question as well on the chat. So which are the top three skills? And now that we have talked about skills, how can we miss talking about the career paths in cybersecurity as well, right?
The cybersecurity career path, a lot of folks are going to start off at the SOC analyst role. And that's instead of a service desk or a help desk, it's specifically for security type monitoring. So you're looking at a lot of logs, looking at the activities from systems, web filtering systems, email filtering systems. And that's usually your entry level. Then you may become a security analyst or a threat intelligence analyst if you specialize a little bit. And of course, as you've gotten this experience, a lot of organizations like you to start out, if you're working for a firm, in that analyst type of role, so you get exposed to a lot of things, right? If those of you, and I think we saw a lot of people that they're currently studying or
like 0 to 3 years. And so that's where we see those folks, right? Is because you've got, yeah, and a lot of times, a lot of you are coming from your current employer, your current industry. And this is one of the things people forget, your career path. You can sometimes do a lateral move within your organization. And that's where you get the cybersecurity knowledge, and the advantage for your employer. If you like your employer overall, but you want to get into cybersecurity because you think it's more appealing, well, I think it is, but don't take my word for it. But if you want to get into a cybersecurity role, a lot of organizations will let you laterally move over because you know the business and you know some of the nuances of why those things in the security operations center, why they matter to something. And you already know the significance of the data that you're looking at, the data or the information, right? So you're not just looking at bits and bytes. And so a lot of a lot of you, you're listening to this, you may be able to just laterally move within your employer. If you like your employer, that's definitely an option for you. Now there's some folks, they like to be perennial, creative people. And that's where you see that, whether you call them the penetration testers or the ethical hackers or the red teaming type exercises, that's where you take your skill set and you use it to purposely attack systems. But you signed a non-disclosure agreement with your company. So you're using the skills of the cyber criminal, but you're helping the organization. So then you can say, we found this, and that organization can actually make some changes, right? And that would be put in place by a security engineer or a cloud security engineer. Sometimes we call them the blue team or the defenders, right? The defensive security team. And that's where, the penetration tester tries to get into those systems, using the skills of a cyber criminal, and you've got those engineers who are defending the systems, and they take the input from a penetration test, and they figure out, okay, how do we make it so that an outside, like a true outsider, right, the criminal, the nation state, whoever, okay, how do we defend against that? And so making the systems better, right? I see. What is it? Those from non-tech back? Well, no. See, that's what I was trying to get to there. With the non-tech background, if you work in an industry, you can actually migrate. Oftentimes within the or do a lateral move within your organization. And I've seen folks do this. They'll be working in a lot of times healthcare. This is an easy one because they'll be on the medical side of things, right? And they don't support the systems. And it's kind of funny when you sit back because sometimes they've sat back and said, where's the IT people? Where's the information security people? Gosh darn it, where are they? And then they laterally move over and they're in that technology unit. They're in that security function. And so that's that. You take that non-tech background and you say, okay, I'm healthcare or I'm financial, right? You financial people will make the change over, right? I also know some other people that if you're good at customer service, there's this one woman I know, she has this whole presentation that she talks about a barista making an excellent transition into cybersecurity because baristas, believe it or not, are doing lots of projects many times a day because each cup of coffee is its own little project and each of those customers have their own special projects, right? And companies not looking to hire fresh graduates. Well, there's ways, and that's one of the benefits of a program that has real hands-on and also having a portfolio. And we'll talk about that later. So I won't. So that question there about hiring a fresh graduate, I'll bring that up later when we. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll touch upon that question for sure. And yeah, moving on to the next slide. So what are the things which are changing in the cybersecurity space for 2024? So what can we expect? I think I've already talked about a lot of things, William, but yeah, just to summarize.
Yeah, I guess, the big things we're seeing in the cybersecurity space, I can't not say ransomware because that would be United Healthcare. Not United Healthcare. That was Change Healthcare, which is a subdivision of United Healthcare. So we end up Oh my gosh, who is that? The ransomware evolution becoming more and more prevalent because they get paid. The United Healthcare paid is what I heard. Allegedly, they paid, right? We're seeing the supply chain concerns. And last year, I have a little song. I go, I like to move it. It's and people don't realize that Progress software, that Move It. Oh, wait a minute, your bank used Move It. Your healthcare, your HR. So she's like, what do you mean? And I said, no. Do you think it's here? And she's like, this weekend I was talking with someone. She's like, oh, well, that wouldn't affect us. We do everything on site. I said, do you access it via web browser? Do they access it? They ship the data, right? Yes, you do use third parties, right? So even if you do it in-house, you have third parties. You have supply chain issues because you're not building all of your own equipment. You're not building everything from scratch. You're going to use others. And of course, regulatory updates, the laws are changing. And in fact, we've got a slide that talks about the SEC regulation that's changed. I don't know. I think we could actually, is that the next one? I think we put it in there.
Yeah.
So breaches, right? So the December 2023 23andMe breach. And you want to say, how does this work? I don't know if any of you watch Law and Order. And last week's episode, was it Law and Order Special Victims Unit? They tracked down a killer because of genetic details. They actually found a familial match that was sitting in a DNA database, right? And they could identify a person. And that's the danger of these healthcare breaches in this case, 23andMe, these DNA samples, is I can identify people. And I can identify people who know other people who are part of a family. And now you start thinking about a threat analysis on this. And you go, wait a minute. I could do social engineering on someone because I know they're related to someone else. You have to sometimes think as these malicious actors and realize, why is it such a big deal, right? And 23andMe, of course, they've got 30 lawsuits so far. I mentioned AT&T earlier. AT&T is going to have their own lawsuits too. And what's our next? Logo failed. Now, this is part of that supply chain issue because we don't make our own hardware, right? We have to buy our computers from someone else. We have to buy them from Dell. In this case, the UEFI, sort of the BIOS, for lack of a better word, and a lot of systems use the same library because why reinvent the wheel? So there'd be other bugs. You'd exploit this vulnerability, whether you could fix it or not depended on the vendor, right? And so, like, I think to myself, like, I've got a Samsung phone that was a really good phone a few years ago. They have decided that August of 2023 was the last update it will ever get, right? It still works. It still runs. I have to be really careful what I do on that device now, until I replace it. And it's, because sometimes you can't fix it. The vendor just says, nope, buy a new one, right? And of course, that's really expensive if you're an enterprise, replacing all of those. And I think our next slide, we talk about, there's the SEC rule. This was one, it went into place last year. And of course, I mentioned United Healthcare. That's how we found out about it that quickly. And that really underscores the change of the law. Because it used to be that all of these companies would drag their feet. You'd have, like, HIPAA would say that you had 90 days, but you had plausible deniability. Was it a reportable breach or a non-reportable breach? I always love that one. Well, this is reportable, but this is not reportable. What? Do I have to do it in 90 days or can I wait till the end of the year? And the SEC said, no, if you are a publicly traded firm, you have to report. So that's why we found out about it, United Healthcare, that quickly. And so Loan Depot was the first, they were the first winner. They had a breach, they had to report, they had to report while they were still doing forensics, while they're still doing all their investigations, right? And what happened, of course, is in the case of Loan Depot, it took their systems offline. And customers had to make phone calls and talk to somebody in a call center. And, who wants to do that, right? The personal and or banking details were likely exfiltrated, right? And we see that they're getting routing up, well, because how do you pay for your mortgage? You have to give them your checking account information. You give them a routing number and an accounting number, and it's in the system. So now I, as an attacker, that's very attractive, isn't it? I could do lots of withdrawals from your account, and I could pick and choose how I do this. And, hopefully, think about how, you start to think as you go through a program like this. We teach folks to be really concerned about these threats and think about things that could happen, like, well, gee, maybe I just take $5, $5, but I do it across millions of customers. That's great, right? Criminal just made a ton of money, right? And people may not notice the $5. And if they don't notice, what do? You do it again, or you sell it to someone else. So it's so Loan Depot got to be the first company to do that. Greatly impacted them. Change Healthcare, right, and United Healthcare, their parent, they got a lot of pain as well this year. Similar type of filing.
That's interesting, William. I just have a question that how are these cybersecurity attacks, which have happened over the last few years and even this year, we have a lot of them this year as well already. The year has started. How are these attacks creating cybersecurity jobs in the market as well? How are they responsible?
Well, organizations don't want to get attacked because it costs them time, it costs them money. So the attack stops them from doing what they need to do. The attack gives them a black eye. And they realize the punchline, of course, is, well, and we're seeing sometimes these decisions that get handed down are to the effect of, well, you didn't have the right cybersecurity people in place to begin with. And so the regulators are not messing around anymore. To put it bluntly, the regulators are saying you did not have the proper number of controls in place. That also means you didn't have the right and qualified people to watch those controls. And so that's why your job market is growing. It's not shrinking, it's growing. Because as much as people talk about AI being so wonderful, you still have to watch the AI, because AI hasn't been perfect. Artificial intelligence is not the death of a lot of jobs, because you still have to watch the artificial intelligence. There was the law cases or the law briefs that AI didn't know the answer, so it just made one.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked totally believable. So people say AI is going to take jobs, but no, you still have to watch the AI, and you have to be able to reason and rationalize and verify that information. Absolutely. So job increasing.
Thank you so much for answering that. Moving on. So now that we've talked about cybersecurity skills, we have talked about the career paths which are in demand in cybersecurity space, and we have also talked about what's changing in the cybersecurity space and a lot of these, breaches and attacks also, and how exactly these attacks over the years, even this year, are creating cybersecurity jobs for you, and they are in demand. We'll be talking more about that, but before that, we would love to know what exactly is stopping you from becoming a cybersecurity expert here. You're here because you are interested in the cybersecurity field. So we would love to know what exactly are the challenges or concerns from these options here. So this is a multiple choice poll, so you can select multiple options. I have just launched the poll here, and I'll just read out these options for you while you folks have already started voting. So first option here is I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. Second one, I wouldn't get the practical exposure I need to become job ready. And the third one, I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos. And the fourth one, my work schedule won't allow me enough time for learning. So again, like if these options do not cover your challenges or concerns, the Q&A box is open to you. We already have a lot of questions. I saw good questions in the chat box as well. if your question is not already answered by William, this is a really good time to go and transfer your questions there to the Q&A box, for it not to get lost in the feed here. So yeah. Great questions I see coming here. Please move your questions to the Q&A box, folks, for our speaker William. In case we don't miss it, that's why. Awesome. I'll give 10 more seconds for the poll here, because I see a lot of you have already started responding to the poll. And as I've mentioned, that if this poll does not cover your concern or challenges, the Q&A box is open for you. So you can put down your questions there. So last 5 seconds for the poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll and also share the results with you folks. Let's see what have you shared here. Let's see. I see 69% of the votes are for I wouldn't get the practical exposure, I need to become job ready. I think we've gotten few questions like that during the webinar also. We'll be touching upon that in the program preview. And a very important question, definitely. And 44% of you have given votes for my work schedule won't allow me to have enough time for learning. So we have a solution for that as well. And 25% of you have responded to I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. And 6% of you have responded to I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos. So let me just quickly introduce you to the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp here. So this program comes with a comprehensive curriculum with an industry-aligned learning path. We'll be talking about the learning path in detail in the upcoming slides. And I think we've gotten the highest amount of votes. I wouldn't get the practical exposure, I need to become job ready. For that, this program actually offers a lot of these integrated labs and hands-on projects for practical experience. We'll be talking about what exactly are these projects, how exactly these projects help you build that portfolio which you can showcase to your future employers, where there's a need of experience, which is required. And also, you don't only get access to recorded videos. It actually is a blend of live virtual classrooms, most of it, and then there are pre-self-recorded videos as well. I will be showing you how the learning environment of the program looks like once you're done with the learning part and other details of the program. So you will have a basically first-hand experience on what exactly happens once you take up the program, and what exactly Simplilearn provides in terms of the learning management system. How do you basically track your progress? How does exactly these labs, assessments, and tests and projects, where do they look like? And also this program duration is of 6 months. You can just complete it by giving 5 to 10 hours per week. We saw a lot of you are working professionals. So this program of 6 months makes it very flexible to attend these classes. We'll show you how the learning environment looks like and how are these batches planned as well. So yeah, moving on to the California Institute of Technology, Caltech Advantage here. So this Caltech is a 130-year-old institution, and it is a home and alma mater to a lot of Nobel laureates. And also Caltech facility ranks in the top 5 universities worldwide. Having a Caltech in your CV is definitely a prestigious accomplishment. You're recognized worldwide. Now talking more about the learning environment here. But before we go to the learning environment, let me just also quickly touch upon the eligibility and prerequisites of the program. So here you need to have a basic knowledge of programming concepts and mathematics. You need to be at least 18 years of age or older and have a high school diploma, which is required for taking up the program. And also no prior work experience is required. If you have work experience in any field or a similar field, that definitely acts as an advantage, right? Any kind of experience you have working. Now moving on to how this program prepares you. Starting with how this program by Caltech builds your cybersecurity skills step by step, starting with the induction to the Cybersecurity Bootcamp. And William, if you can take us through the steps here, that will be great.
Sure. Yep. And I like someone had said in the chat question, they said something about being an expert is on my roadmap down the line. Building the foundation is the priority for me right now. And, you stole the words out of my mouth, right? Because virtually every industry uses cybersecurity somehow. And a lot of times we don't think about it. Like one of the folks said, how do I use cybersecurity in a jewelry industry? And, if you would ask me 30 years ago, everybody was just doing manual record keeping. And so it was all pen and paper. And they would just, they put the part, like
you'd put the parts in a bin and you would just manually count them and you do it on paper. Well, now you want to streamline all of that. You want to automate your processes. No matter who you're thinking about, they're getting their goods, they're tracking their inventory, they're tracking their parts, they're tracking whether it's sold. So now, that the minute that widget goes out the door, right, there's a signal that goes back to the manufacturer. Or it may queue, they may do them in batches, but that there's real-time inventory across that entire supply chain. The technology is being used across the board in your various industries. So the first where we start is with that introductory, the induction into the Cybersecurity Bootcamp and the cybersecurity fundamentals, so that we start to understand the terms. What is a virus? What is ransomware, etc. Then we said, well, let's go into the asset and inventory management, and we delve into Linux in particular in that course. And so, because a lot of people you've worked with like clicking on a mouse, right, with Windows, but what happens if I put you onto a normal security appliance that's going to have Linux? Well, great. Let's drop in and work with that. And then we talk about network systems. We talk about how firewalls and routers all work, what kind of protections they can offer you. And on a prior slide, we talked about programming experience. And you don't have to have existing programming experience. And one of the examples I usually like to think about is when we think about programming with Python being a scripting language, and your scripting knowledge is very transportable. So if you say, okay, in this track, in this program, in this certificate program, you're learning Python. You want to use Go instead. You can crosswalk that because you've had experience in one programming language, a scripting language. You're going to want to automate what you're doing, right, to be efficient. And that's where having some programming experience is necessary. And that's why it's part of this program. And that is one of the things I think that also starts to address, right? People say, oh, I don't want to hire a grad because all they did was take one course in Linux or one course in this. And as you see, the program is trying to build that piece by piece by piece. And so you're getting that well-rounded experience. But as far as that logic, getting back to that point, the calculation of sales tax. And I don't know, people could yell at me if I'm wrong, but I know expense reporting, your tip is only supposed to be 15 to 20% of the subtotal, not 15 to 20% of the total after the tax. That course, the next time, those of you are going to the local quick serve restaurant or your coffee shop of choice, if you look at that logically, you say, wait a minute, they did 20% of the total. And how many people pay that? Well, a lot of people pay the 20% of the total. And that's where that programming knowledge of, well, if I'm calculating a number, what am I basing it off of, being able to follow that path correctly? And then we move into Windows, but we look at it from the server perspective. So we're looking at Active Directory, we're looking at group policies. And then now you've had this experience, it's because you're going one step at a time. The first thing is offensive security, where you're using those red team type of tactics to try to break into these systems. And I'll show you the lab environment in a moment. So using the same skills, the same tools that cyber criminals have or red teamers would be using, because you use the same tools with real live lab experiences. And in the final course, the defensive security or blue team, you look at the various things that you could do to defend against those red team attacks. So first you see the attacks are possible, and then you work through exercises to defend against those attacks. And of course, the program, there's a capstone project at the end of it. If you ever need additional time with your instructor, you can schedule an office hours session. And we do, Simplilearn has additional master classes. There's one on generative AI. So there are electives that you could add on if you want.
Yeah, totally agree to that. And there are Caltech CTMA cybersecurity masterclasses as well as part of the electives here. So electives here are optional. It is up to you if you want to basically take them up. We don't charge anything extra for these electives here. Moving on to the global leaders we have as program advisors here. So Rick Hefner, who's the Caltech CTME program director with over 40 years of experience in systems development and has served in academic and industrial research positions, make sure that the Simplilearn is delivering as per Caltech standard when it comes to this it's basically program here. Moving on to the learner outcomes here. So interestingly, the previous classes have consisted of learners coming from world-class organizations and diverse industries. Industries like IT, software product, BFSI, healthcare, and many others. And they also come from these world-class organizations like Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix, LinkedIn, Oracle, Adobe, Nasdaq, just to name a few of them. But that does not mean they only come from these companies. There are hundreds of more companies. So these are just top companies we are referring to. Also, Simplilearn also provides these job assist services. This is in partnership with Climate Inc. Now, once basically you're done with your program, you get access to the job portal here. Resume Rabbit, which has a wide employer network with a verified job search framework to provide you unique jobs. I think I saw a lot of mentions of internships or volunteering. So through Talent Inc., you can actually do that. Not only volunteering internships, and actually find a job here as well. So that is how we help you with this partnership. And also, basically, once you're done with the program, we also help you with the resume review and rewrite services. This is in partnership with Top Resume, where you get an SME assigned to you, where you get to collaborate one-on-one, and also based on the skill set or job role you're applying for, the resume is prepared that way, and it takes up to 2 weeks usually to deliver the resume to you. And also there is in 2 rounds of revisions as well. And post that, we also help you with one-on-one interview services by Top Resume, Top Interview here. Similarly, just like Resume, you get a practitioner SME assigned here, and they help you prepare based on the skill set and job role you're applying for. And yeah, there is a continuous feedback here as well. So yeah. Moving on to the learning environment of the program here. So in this learning environment, we'll be showing you what happens once you take up the Caltech, Cybersecurity Bootcamp, and how this exactly looks like. So William, let me know if you want to share my screen, me to share the learning environment, or you will be able to share it yourself. Yeah.
Let me see. Looks like I'm going to be allowed to share it.
Yes, let me stop sharing.
Yeah. It already overwrote you?
Yeah, I can see the learning. I can see your screen.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, well, the LMS, I've got a couple of the screens queued up here with the LMS. The first thing I just talk about is we have Slack as a means of communicating in between classes. People say, well, I can't find time to learn. Or, what happens on the weekends? And what happens? And so faculty such as myself, we are in these Slack channels. These are we'll come in, we'll answer questions, and sometimes we'll also add to the curriculum here. In the case, I found some NIST resources for this class. We were talking about NIST, and I said, oh, well, wait, here's one, here's a document for small business. And that, they need cybersecurity. Everybody needs cybersecurity. So we'll use the Slack as a means of doing that. We'll support the huddles for the instantaneous meetings with the faculty. Now, the actual LMS itself, I'm going to come back out here. When you log in, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to see you're going to select the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp, and then you're going to see the courses. And like we said, you're going to come down this path here, and every time it's going to indicate whether you've completed it or not. It's going to show you what you need to do to complete it. Right? And it'll show you what you need to do to unlock your certificate. And I mentioned earlier, there are the electives, right? We mentioned there's some electives there as well, office hours and project hours, right? So let's go into one of those classes. So I have one here. I just picked a class, and I picked this class here because I'm like, a lot of people are always excited. I want a red team. I want to attack. Yes, it is fun. And as you go through the LMS, you've got a bit of information here, but usually what happens is your instructor is actually working through these exercises and showing you how to do them. And then you do them. And so these are usually different, right? And so what the instructor demonstrates and what you do, right? It'll be a different set of IP addresses. It'll be different, slightly different version of the commands. So you get to learn by doing is one of the elements, one of the key elements there that I point out to you. And as you're going through the program, you have these competency checkpoints, which helps you verify your knowledge, your learning of the material. But you also have these, like this is it's called the penetration testing problem. It's a career simulation. And so as an example, I have the document already over here. I just have to bring it back, okay? So this document here, right? What are you doing, right? Again, you're doing this series of steps. And you're generating, in this case, you're generating a vulnerability assessment. Now, to those of you who said, I don't have experience, companies don't want to hire me because I don't have experience, there's a term they call it a portfolio. So you have a resume, this is what you've done. You list the fact that you completed the Caltech program under education, because it is an education program. But you also have a portfolio, and even in my career, I still get asked, can you give me a sample of a policy? Can you give me a sample of a report? And so as you're going through the coursework, A, you're learning by doing, and B, you're building that portfolio that when you get that interview and they ask for a sample report, here you go. Because this is a test or sandbox type of environment. It would be very rare to have that kind of permission to go in and purposely break things. And so here's the lab, right? I clicked on the practice lab link there, and I launched it, and it's out in the cloud, and it launches and it runs for 3 hours, and then it shuts down. When it shuts down, I just launch it again, right? So it's not, so it's just whenever you want it, if it shuts down, you just restart it, right? And this is fully functional. Like I could just pick something random and it would go do it. This is not scripted. This is not some sort of it's not a game. This is an actual instance of Kali. And you have really an environment here. And in this particular lab that I opened up, you see you've got Kali, you've got 2 Ubuntu Linux systems available, you've got 2 Windows systems available. In this lab, you go in to the lab, you log into Kali, you access Ubuntu, you pass the hash in Windows, you use the SSH keys, log into the other Linux system. It's fully functional, right? Those are all independent systems that you're working with in that lab environment. And so it's really designed to be a robust lab that you can work with and get that experience. And so, and when you go back here, like I said, with these projects, right, you're completing it, faculty members look at it and provide feedback back to you. It's pass or fail, but we make sure that you okay, have you achieved the objectives? And give you feedback on that assignment. So now that can go into that portfolio when you are doing your job search. So I'll transition back to you, Rasha. So you can share yours.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, William, for taking us through the learning environment of the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. We'll be moving on to just to summarize all the things we have talked about. So what exactly you'll be getting from this Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp? So you'll be getting a Caltech CTME Bootcamp certificate. It exactly looks like the California Institute of Technology. It will be by Center for Technology and Management Execution. And also this will be certified to you. And you can see this is for the Cybersecurity Bootcamp. And you can see the accreditations here as well by the director here and by Caltech. I'll also share the link towards the basically program as well if you want to download the syllabus after the session and check it out. Also, you'll get to work on hands-on projects and integrated labs. You'll be receiving up to 26 CUs for Caltech CTMA, which is equivalent to 260 hours of learning. And also here, you'll be getting Caltech CTMA Circle membership. So once you're done with the program, you still get to be a part of the Caltech CTMA Circle membership, which is very prestigious and very good for networking to be a part of such huge global circle. And here you'll be getting career assist services from Simplilearn, which is the partnership with Talent Inc. we have here for our US learners. And the convocation will be taking place online, and where you not only can invite your closest friends or family, but also your fire relatives and family, that makes this, very special. So let me just quickly also share the link towards the program with you in case you want to go through it again later on. Let me also open it and show it to you all the things we have covered and where you can find the syllabus link here as well. So yeah, so we can see this is the basically landing page for the program here for the Caltech Cybersecurity program. You can download the syllabus from here later on to check out more details, all the details we have covered and much more. You can see the details here, the program duration, and what are the ratings here of the program as well on switch off, course report, Trustpilot. And you can also send in an inquiry right now in case you want to join the latest go ahead. And also these are the key features of the program which we have already covered. And the certificate here and what all the graduate receive here and all the details we have already covered. This is the learning path of the program here. And this is how you can download the program syllabus here. If you want to go and inquire right now, you can just use this tab and basically submit it. We'll be covering the skills here, which we have already talked about, the tools, which already William has shown a preview of all the tools here. And also what exactly it looks like in the learning environment. You get to work on the hands-on projects, which we have talked about, where you can use it to showcase the practical experience you have. We have 3 projects here: asset and inventory management, system as administration, and offensive security red team. So yeah, the 3 of the projects you can work on. And yeah, basically the career support here, this is by Talent Inc. here, which we have already talked about. All the details you can find out here as well. You can check out the industry demand. We have talked about hiring companies, personal profiles, and basically what are the batch profiles, how they look like. We have talked about these things. So yeah, this basically is just to give you a little bit overview of all the things we have covered. Now, going back to the chat here, I'm sharing the link towards the program with you in the chat here as well. You can go and download the syllabus using this link. Now that we have covered the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp program review, we would love to know, are you interested in enrolling into the program? And I'm just launching a quick poll which says, would you like to enroll into the program? And you can share your interest as yes to show your interest for enrolling into the program. So you can do that. And also, William, I think we are a little limited on time, so we can also take up these questions we have in the Q&A box as well. I think you have managed to answer a lot of them throughout the session, but if you can just look at the questions as well, that will be also really helpful and start addressing.
Yeah, so the first question, and I'm going to type the response here as well. Even though this is, we'll say first, this program is not geared to just one certification. So I'm going to say there's one question here. I'm going to respond. Someone asked, what's the best certification to start with in a cybersecurity career? I'm going to say Security Plus. And actually, I have the next one here says I'm doing a bachelor's in cybersecurity in forensics, and they're looking at CompTIA now. Okay, they're looking for roadmap and book recommendations. Okay, so well, we might have a solution for that also. There's lots of resources out there for A+, and Security Network Plus and Security Plus. Those 3 certifications are all very good. If you're not going to be doing hardware, like direct hardware support, the A+ is not necessary, so to speak, because if you've not used, I think everybody's used Windows to a degree, and you haven't used Linux. CompTIA actually has a Linux Plus certification. We give you enough Linux and enough in the Windows and the server environment that for a lot of people, the A+, if you have it, that's great, but you don't need it, right? And I think we had that somewhere on an elective that someone could do some additional A+ course. I don't know if that's included for free or not, though, so don't quote me on that. It could cybersecurity attacks. How many companies is analysts stop system crashes from not working? It's always funny. Nobody wants to say how many attacks they got or how many things knocked on their door. No one's going to admit that. We only hear about the ones that got in because that's when it's painful. Each individual company is going to track their own metrics. They're going to make sure that the systems are doing what they expect them to do. And actually, in the blue team course, we talk about Splunk as an example. And that's one of the tools that people are looking at the activity logs and are looking to see how their controls are working. The roadmap to get into cybersecurity, we have it right there in the in our whatchamacallit, in the series of courses there. It really does take you from the beginning to the end, right? Because we're assuming you all come in, you know how to use a computer and a mouse. And then we just take, okay, here's the introduction to cybersecurity, and we go from there. We do it in a way that it's digestible over a 6-month period, 3 nights a week. If you miss a class, they are recorded, right? We encourage you to attend live because your specific question, you're not part of the dialogue. But this program is set up to be a roadmap to get you into cybersecurity and be that well-rounded program. Sometimes degree programs will go off into the weeds on like programming hardware, and you're not going to do that. So this is geared to be the average person who's going into cybersecurity. This is a lot of what you need. Okay. Yep. Go ahead. Stop the poll.
Thank you so much, William. Let me just quickly stop the poll here. Thank you so much, folks, for sharing your interest. Would you like to continue the Q&A?
Sure. Here's another one. I just did CCNA security. No, CCNA is vendor specific. Security Plus would probably be better. That would be my recommendation. Someone said Cisco, like a Cisco vendor cert, would be better. When you come out of this program, you're suited that, we're not teaching just to the CEH as an example. We're not teaching just to offensive security certifications or the Security Plus specifically. But a lot of learners can sit for the Security Plus and CompTIA's CISA, which is a security analyst cert that CompTIA has. And the big thing, those of you who said you were new to the industry or transitioning, is that you have that portfolio, you have a well-rounded education, the fact that you can indicate that I have education specifically, right, in cybersecurity. The A+ is not mandatory, not at all. Nope. I think I may not have clicked answer to all of them, but I think I kind of answered all of them here. Google does have a cybersecurity certificate. When it gets to vendor certificates like Amazon or Google, they do have some certificates, and actually Splunk has one too. And that was actually an example of something that I told my learners in one of my cohorts. I said, you know what, here, Splunk has this. Anything that's free, if you have time, go for it. Right. And then ask, you have really, the minute you go from like, I think Google has something that's free that you can attend for free, but it's to sort of whet your appetite. And then of course they'll say, oh, well, why don't you take this other course? And that's where, a lot of, they'll give you something to get you started. And then it'll be like, oh, what do I do next? Oh, well, that you have to pay for. As CEH is not mandatory, remember when we talked about the roles, being that red teamer is more of a specialization. CEH is not mandatory. And some of you will be talking about like the CEH or the Security Plus or the Network Plus or some of these other certifications. If you work in the government space, if you work in the government and military space, they have the NICE framework where they peg certifications to job roles. It depends on the employer. Sometimes they want certifications, sometimes they don't, and they're happy with just a portfolio. So, Rasha, I think that wraps up the questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, William. I'll just quickly take you through the enrollment steps of the program for a lot of you folks who have shared the enrollment interest here. There are 3 simple, easy steps you'll have to follow if you want to basically enroll into the program. And I'm just giving you an overview of what exactly the learning consultants from Superior will be taking you through. So the step 1 here is you have to submit an application. You have to apply at askus@simplilearn.net. Step 2 here will be your application will be going for review. We'll be reviewing your qualifications based on the eligibility and criteria we have shared with you. And the last step here is the admissions offer. So the learning consultants from Simplilearn will be contacting you with the admissions offer. So now these three simple, easy steps you basically have to follow. So we just want to make sure that you're aware what's going to happen after this. So yeah, and talking about the program schedule here and the fee. So the next cohort, which is upcoming, is 15th of July. And basically the fee for the program is 8,000 USD dollars, and there are EMI and installment options also available. You can check out in the page as well, the link which I've shared already here. I'll just share it once again on the chat here. Basically, it has all the partners available there which you can offer, and also in case you have any questions, you can also check out from the learning consultant from Sweden. I'll just quickly go to the payment options here. So yeah, you can see here. If you can see here, you can pay in installments. I've just shared the link on the chat. We have split it, client, Klarna, and the EMI is available for as low as $705 per month. So yeah, you can opt for that. Going back to the screen here. And we do have limited seats per cohort in order to make sure, whoever takes up the program is getting, the required attention here. So even after the webinar, if you have any questions, you can still reach out to us at askus@simplilearn.net. I'm just dropping that email ID here in the chat with you. You can just save it in case you need further assistance. You can reach out to us anytime, and basically we are here to help you in every step of the way. So yeah, thank you so much. For any latest discounts on the program, we can check out on the current discount on the page itself, or you can basically check that out from the learning consultants. I think we have already gone through the Q&A, William. So I think there is no need for that. I think we have addressed all the questions throughout the session. And yeah, thank you so much everyone for for attending the session and being an amazing audience. Thank you so much, William here. We just quickly will go through the certificate of participation here. And basically, this is how exactly it looks like. This is what you'll be receiving once you basically fill the webinar survey. I'll show you how it looks like quickly as well. So in case you want to showcase your achievement, go and share it on LinkedIn. You can tag our SL Simplilearn handle there. I'll share the handle on the chat, and also you can tag our expert William Bailey there as well. And share your insights. How did you find the webinar? How was the webinar for you? Or you can just go and share your achievement, that you basically are attending a latest cybersecurity webinar with Caltech. So, and also, you can also take screen caps of the session. If you're not taking it right now, you can take it on the recording, which will be sending it to you over email once the webinar is done. You can expect that from us. And similarly, if you like something from the webinar, take a screen grab, like, guys did it in one of our sessions, and share it about it, your experience about it, what new did you learn about it. And similarly, we can tag our Simplilearn handle and our expert William Bailey there as well. And you can share it on LinkedIn, use the hashtag SimplilearnGrow, and yeah, we'll be basically finding you and supporting you there on LinkedIn as well. And it's a good thing to network. A lot of people share these posts and actually got a lot of new folks who were interested in a similar cybersecurity, topics of field. So it's a good way to network. And this is how the post-webinar survey will look like. Now, when I'm going to end the session, this is how the survey will pop up for folks who have joined us on Zoom. And this is where you will have to basically, put your full name for the webinar certificate. You can see it here. There'll be 3 simple questions. How informative was the presentation? For the webinar certificate, what name would you want to see? We will need the data. And the third question will be a feedback as well. If you want to see us, covering newer topics or something you would like to cover, covered in the webinars, upcoming, you can let us know in that as well. So yeah, this is just to summarize. Thank you so much, William, for joining us and taking us through this program preview for the Caltech Cybersecurity Bootcamp. Thank you so much. Would you like to say something to the folks before we end the session?
Thank you everyone for joining today. Be a very lively discussion, and hope to see you in a future cohort.
Thank you so much, William. Once again, thank you. Thank you to everyone. Have a good day, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. I'm joining the link of upcoming webinars here as well, in case you want to check out and subscribe for such interesting webinars as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being an amazing audience. Looking forward to see you in upcoming cohorts. Thank you so much. We'll be ending the session now. Thank you, everyone.